I'll start with the Lakers. Let me just start with this. And they're one of a handful of, there's about 5 teams every year in the NBA that can win a championship. So their season started last night. NBA got off to a great start. So there's 2 things, though, you can't change during an NBA season. Age, the Lakers are really old. There's no fountain of youth here, folks. And salaries, they're really expensive at the top. Westbrook, LeBron, AD. Translation, it's a pretty thin team. Their flaws are their flaws, and you're going to have to live with them. Now, they played the Warriors last night. The Warriors are different. They've got a lot of evolving to do. The Warriors could end up being a very interesting team. They won last night, and Klay Thompson didn't play. James Wiseman is working himself back from an injury. They added a guy named Bielitsa from the Sacramento Kings, who's an interesting fit, maybe their best player off the bench. They're an interesting team. That's an interesting team, and they could be a different team, the Warriors, in 3 months. Keep your eye on the Warriors. The Lakers, they'll be good, but this is what they are. Going to be highly dependent on LeBron and AD to be great and be healthy. The Lakers are so old, even their bench is old. Usually in the NBA, your bench on a really good team is a bunch of young guys that want to develop into something. The Lakers bench is old guys who aren't good enough to start. It's Rondo, it's Dwight Howard, it's Carmelo Anthony. And the NBA has become, as you all know, in the last 10 years, very much a spacing league. What does that mean? Everybody can handle the ball. Everybody can shoot. Right? Everybody can shoot. So you spread it. It used to be everybody was jammed in the paint. Drop the ball to the big guy. Double team him. Pop it out. Shoot. Everything is spaced. So the Lakers do not have a lot of young athletic legs to chase three-point shooters off the line. This is an old team. Their bench is old. Their bench is older than their starters. And their starters are old. And so, whereas the Warriors, Steph didn't play well, Clay didn't play, and they won. The Lakers, actually, their stars, AD and LeBron were pretty good at home, and they lost. And we can blame Westbrook for this, but let's be fair about Westbrook. He was brought in for energy and minutes. Yeah, he couldn't shoot last night. Folks, it's been 10 years. He's not a shooter. He can score. He's not a shooter. So LeBron, as the Lakers lost last night, this is his team. LeBron is never like young players. He likes his guys, and he's got a lot of them. He's got Melo and Westbrook and AD, and they're really, really old. And in a spacing league, the Lakers are going to have to win with depth of power and size and length and slow it down, and they can do that against a lot of teams. I don't know if you can win a championship that way, but that's what the Lakers have to be. This is what they are. Old, expensive, and limited athletically on the perimeter. But LeBron James said last night, don't blame Westbrook. He's the new guy. It's going to be a hard fit. He didn't have a great night. We don't expect him to be a great shooter. At least LeBron had a little bit of context after the game. They are what they are, and they'll be fine, but don't expect big variations of what they are. They're old, and they're expensive. And that's not going to change. We're only a third through the NFL season, so it's easy to get fooled and think teams that have kind of a glossy record are better than they are, or think a team like the Colts scrapping it together are done for the season. You can get fooled easily. So Baker Mayfield, it was announced today, will not start for Cleveland tomorrow. Instead, his backup, very capable Case Keenum. In fact, when Baker came into this league, I said his comp is Case Keenum. He's Case Keenum, better arm. The line did not move dramatically when it was announced today. The Browns were about a 3-point favorite. Now they'll be a 1 to a 1.5 point favorite. Baker's better than Case, but we're not talking Mahomes and Case Keenum here, which is probably a 7, 8, 9 point swing. So this is the right move by Cleveland for 2 reasons. Number one is these seasons are long. If you look in division, Pittsburgh's not good enough offensively to make the playoffs. Cincinnati's got a nice record, but they don't have a ton of depth. They will not be able to overcome key injuries, which all teams deal with. I mean, Cleveland's got a boatload of injuries. They're still favored tomorrow. So I think over the course of a season, Cincinnati, still in a rebuild, is really not built to be a playoff team for 17 games. They can get 6-7 games in. They have a young quarterback, terrific receivers. They're kind of clever offensively. They're playing better defensively. Bottom line is Cleveland's roster is a playoff roster. They may not be Baltimore. I don't think they are. But they're a playoff roster. Why risk it by playing Baker Mayfield? Again, this is not a division. Like if you're Kansas City, you can't screw around too long. Chargers are good, and the Raiders can score a lot of points. It's not this division, all right? This division is built now for Cleveland to get to the playoffs. So that's number one. There's no rush. Number two is if you look at the current schedule for the Cleveland Browns, they're still favored with Case Keenum tomorrow night, and I do think they'll win. It was one of my better bets on the board. I like Cleveland. But start looking at it. Next week, they host Pittsburgh. If Baker comes back healthy, they're favored. At Cincinnati, with Baker, they'd be favored. At New England, rookie quarterback, they'd be favored. Detroit, they'd be favored. The next time they're not favored, week 12 at Baltimore, and with or without Baker Mayfield, you're probably not going to win that football game. This is the right move as we've extended this season for this division and this roster. They've got mostly the same chance to make it work with Case as they do with Baker. Baker's better. The gap is not the Grand Canyon. But why risk an injury in that division with your roster? It makes absolutely no sense. I think they're making the right move, and I still think Cleveland wins. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.